What are the pros and cons of living in Niagara Falls? Well, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the top 22 pros and cons I discuss with all my clients before they make the move to Niagara Falls. Everything from the real estate to the shopping to the schools, the safety, the parks, the entertainment, as well as some cons you need to know about before moving here, as it could be a deal breaker for you. But first, let's discuss the first pro about living in Niagara Falls is its location, as it's located right on the US border and has a population of 111,000 people. And it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from Toronto, 1 hour from Hamilton, and then only 30 minutes from Buffalo, New York. And in a moment, we'll be jumping onto the map and breaking Niagara Falls down and showing you where those deal breakers and those cons associated with living in certain areas of Niagara Falls are, like the landfills, the quarries, the wastewater treatment plants, and more. But first, let's discuss the next pro about living in Niagara Falls. It's the parks and conservation areas. Now, of course, Niagara Falls is best known for, well, Niagara Falls. It is the world famous waterfall with breathtaking views, and you can just see the majestic power of this falls here. And there's a lot to do around the falls, as you have the Queen Victoria Park right beside the falls, and it's this historic park that offers lots of seasonal flowering gardens with great views of both the Canadian and US falls. But then you'll also find just a short drive away the Niagara Parks Botanical Gardens in Niagara Glen, and they've been open since 1936, and they're a European style garden with more than 99 acres of amazing gardens to explore and hiking trails that run along the runoff of the Niagara Falls at the Niagara Glen. And while here, you can visit the Butterfly Conservatory. Then the other great park around is the Dufferin Islands and the Floral Show House. And here is a great spot to enjoy more hiking trails, see the water rushing to the top of Niagara Falls, or also go check out the Floral Showcase to see one of the several floral shows throughout the year and celebrating each of the major holidays with more beautiful flowers and community events. Then if your kids are in sports, you're going to be visiting a lot of time at the Patrick Cummings Memorial Sports Park, which is 6 baseball diamonds, 2 soccer fields, a baseball court, splash pad, jungle gym, and so much more. And then of course, throughout Niagara Falls, you're going to find a variety of neighborhood parks, and often beside these neighborhood parks is their school. So if you're interested in learning more about these schools and how they are in Niagara Falls before making the move here, keep on watching, as we'll be discussing that in a second. But if you're new here and want to learn everything about what it's like living in Niagara Falls and the surrounding cities of St. Catharines, Grimsby, or Hamilton, make sure to hit the subscribe button. My name is Matthew, the founding realtor of the Living in Hamilton channel and team, and for the past couple of years been helping people just like yourselves relocate here and buy a home. So if you're thinking about making the move, whether you're 60 days out or 6 months out, send me and my team a message today. But the next pro or con that you can consider about living in Niagara Falls is the shopping, as Niagara Falls has a lot of great shopping options to enjoy. Number one is the downtown core of Niagara Falls. It has a lot of different opportunities to shop at, to do, as well as fun activities, because Niagara Falls is such a tourist hub. So if you want to learn more about the downtown core of Niagara Falls, keep on watching. But in terms of indoor shopping malls, Niagara Falls isn't going to have one, but you do have a Canada One outlet mall, which is located in the middle of the city, and it's a great complex with some amazing deals on name brand options from Guess, Coach, Urban Planet, SVP Sports, and more. But then you will also find the Niagara Square and Smart Center, which is located just on the south side of Niagara Falls on both sides of the QEW. It offers a Costco, Winners, a Giant Tiger, a Cineplex, and then on the other side of the QEW, you'll find a Walmart, PetSmart, and more shopping options to enjoy. And then just throughout Niagara Falls, you'll find a variety of smaller plazas throughout the city on a variety of different main streets. Then just outside of Niagara Falls, but I think it's worth mentioning in this video here, is you also have the outlet collection at Niagara, which is for even a bigger outdoor mall with more than 100 different outlet stores to shop at to find some amazing deals just on the west side. And this includes a huge Bass Pro Shop and Nike factory outlet, Ralph Lauren, Coach, Calvin Klein, and so much more. Now, the next pro or con, depending on how you look at it, is Niagara Falls' downtown core, as there is so much to do here and enjoy. However, with that said, there also comes with some cons. One, it's heavily a tourist area, especially around the falls, which is a little bit farther out from the downtown core, but nonetheless, it is going to have a heavy influx of tourists, especially during the summertime. But then also, some parts of the downtown area of Niagara Falls, like any larger city, are going to be a bit more mixed. mix, but I would say that the downtown core overall is going under a revitalization with some new business, art initiatives, and cultural events, bringing life back to the area, especially the closer you get to the falls, as just the investment in the tourism area over there is huge. However, with that said, you can still find some quieter areas of the downtown core just a little bit away from the falls. So if you want a complete breakdown on the safety in Niagara Falls, as there's definitely some areas that are hit or miss in Niagara Falls, and want to learn more about that from the actual crime statistics from Statistics Canada, keep on watching, as we'll be discussing that in just a moment. But the next pro or con about Niagara Falls is the tourism. So I also kind of mentioned it when we were discussing the downtown core, but it does drive a lot of economic growth and brings up a lot of investment to the city. And it also comes with a lot of fun, unique activities you're not going to be finding in any other city. However, it does also come with some drawbacks, and this includes some overcrowding, lots of traffic, especially during that peak season, like I mentioned, and just more noise also comes through. And then also you'll notice sometimes there's a little bit of a tourist tax, and stuff seems to be a little bit more expensive the closer you get to the falls. However, in a moment, we'll actually be breaking down the cost of living in Niagara Falls and how it compares to other cities of the Niagara region and just Ontario in general. So keep on watching if you want to learn that. But then the next pro about living in Niagara Falls happens to be the local events and festivals that happen. Because it is such a tourist draw, there is a lot of different events, shows, and festivals happening here. You have the Winter Festival of Lights, which is usually mid-November all the way to mid-January, and is Canada's largest illumination festival, featuring over 75 different lights on display. You have New Year's Eve at the Falls, which is an outdoor concert and a stunning fireworks show over the falls to celebrate the new year. You of course have the classic Rib Fest, but also a great Niagara Jazz Festival that is usually a summer Mardi Gras theme to get a little bit of taste of New Orleans in Canada. To of course just the classic Canada Day every July to celebrate Canada getting 1 year older. Then another community event that happens on a weekly basis in Niagara Falls, and is another pro about living here, is the Farmers Market, as it takes place every Saturday morning from May to October and offers 30 to 4 different vendors, local produce, flowers, handmade baked goods, and truly is a great way to spend a Saturday morning as a family. Then throughout the week, any day that you're looking for some more family fun is the next pro, and those are the local unique family fun activities you can do because of how big the tourist draw in Niagara Falls is here. And of course, the number one thing you first need to do when moving to Niagara Falls is go check out Niagara Falls through the variety of different activities you can do, as you can stand basically at the base of the waterfall, where you can stand right behind it and feel the magnitude of how much water is truly coming over Niagara Falls. But you also have the Whirlpool Aero car, which is a cable car which you ride over the falls, to the White Water Walk, which is you walk right alongside the waterfall rapids, to the Made of Mist, which is a boat that also boats out there to the base of the waterfall. But then another fun activity you can do in Niagara Falls is the Falls View Indoor Water Park, which is a huge 3-acre indoor water park on top of the Falls View Casino with 16 different water slides, to the Great Wolf Lodge, which is a Northern Wood themed resort where families splash, slide, and play in a massive indoor water park adventure, to the Niagara Speedway, which offers high-speed fun and outdoor racing tracks for all ages, to Ripley's Believe It or Not, which showcase some of the weirdest odysseys you'll see. And this is one thing that's been burned in my brain, is when we went to go see Ripley's Believe It or Not growing up. I would highly recommend to take the kids there one afternoon. It's a fantastic way to spend it. But then you'll also have the Great Canadian Midway, a huge arcade with more than 300 different games to play and win prizes, to the Heartland Forest Park, which again, there's lots to do in this unique park here, as it has a bunch of trails to walk along the way, while you see an earlier settler's cabin, a tree house, a turtle lookout, a mini putt course, obstacle courses, rope courses, and so much more. And then the last one I'll quickly mention to just show you one such a unique thing that you only can find in Niagara Falls, really in Ontario in my opinion, maybe Toronto, is the Wax Museum of Stars, to go see live replicas of some of the most famous people in the movies. And there's so much more you'll need to do when exploring here. And there's also a bunch of different adult fun and nightlife you can enjoy when living in Niagara Falls, we'll talk about in just a second. But if you're thinking about making the move to Niagara Falls, send me and my team a a message today with what you're looking for, and we can help guide you on what areas we would recommend for you and send properties based on your search criteria. But then the next pro of living in Niagara Falls is the cost of living. And this is because when we compare it to the data that is supplied by us from the Economic Research Institute, we can see that while it is 9% above the national average, like most Ontario is, it is still 3% below the provincial average. And if we zoom in more into the affordability breakdown, as we can see here, of course, the housing is going to be more expensive, but this is relative. And we'll take a look at how Niagara Falls' real estate costs breaks down compared to the surrounding cities. But other than that, you are going to find it more affordable in the transportation and healthcare compared to the provincial averages. So let's dive in more now and discuss the number one thing that goes into the cost of living, and that is housing. And in my opinion, I think the real estate in Niagara Falls is definitely a pro when you compare it in terms of housing costs, as when we compare the median detached sold price in Niagara Falls, it is more affordable than Hamilton, Burlington, Grimsby, Lincoln, Brantford, and Niagara-on-the-Lake. It's a similar affordability to Welland and St. Catharines, however, a little bit more expensive than Fort Erie. Now, in terms of what the real estate actually sold in the area, it was about 76% detached homes, another 20% townhomes, and then only 4% condos. Now, where did the majority of each of these property types sell, to give you a better idea of what you're looking for and where it fits in the price ranges? Well, detached homes typically sold between $500,000 and $800,000, townhomes between $400,000 and $700,000. And as you can see here for the townhome breakup, it breaks down to about 40% condo townhomes, 33% semi-detached homes, and then 25% attached townhomes. And then as for condos, these typically sold, as you see here, between $300,000 and $600,000. However, as you see, the inventory is much less, as only 15 was the top category for condos. Now, of course, like I mentioned, if you're thinking about making the move here, send me and my team a message today. We'd be happy to break down these sales trends based on your search criteria and update you based on what local trends we're seeing in the market as well. But the next con you need to be aware of before making the move to Niagara Falls is the relatively higher property taxes, as out of the 24 cities comparing different property taxes, Niagara Falls was found to be the fourth highest, which means it's a higher property tax compared to Hamilton, Burlington, Kitchener, Toronto. However, slightly lower than London, with a property tax rate in 2024 sitting at 1.55%. Now, of course, this is relative, as your dollar is going to stretch much further, like we just discussed in the real estate section. So it's just proportionally higher in the Niagara Falls region. Then another pro or con, depending on how you look at it and what you're comparing it to, is the public transit you're going to find in Niagara Falls. As in my opinion, it's not as good as Toronto for sure. Hamilton, I would say it's better as well. St. Catharines, I would say, is probably better because it's just a bigger city. Niagara Falls has decent public transit, especially around the tourist areas, but as you spread further and further out, it definitely gets lacking. Now, with that said, if you're comparing it to the other regions of Niagara, like Welland, Fort Erie, Niagara-on-the-Lake, or Beamsville, I would say Niagara Falls' public transit is definitely better, as you are going to find the Niagara Region Transit, which buses come every 30 minutes and covers the majority of the city, with most options, of course, coming around the falls, but still, most residents do choose to travel via car. Then, in terms of the GO train stations or GO stations in Niagara Falls, you are going to find the Niagara Falls GO, which does have a GO train with a couple of trains going each day to Toronto, and it's about a 2-hour train ride into Union Station. So if you want to learn more where all the train tracks are for the GO train line, but also the industrial lines of train tracks in and around Niagara Falls, because you don't want to live near there, or maybe it's the hydro lines for you, keep on watching, as I'll be breaking those areas down in just a moment. But just wrapping up the public transit system, you're also going to find a variety of different GO bus options, usually in that Niagara Falls GO station, but also just throughout as well. Then the next one is kind of tied to the public transit, and that is the car dependent or traffic bottlenecks you're going to be finding in the Niagara Falls area, as basically 95% of the Niagara Falls population main form of public transit is car. So it's a very car dependent city, which is very consistent through the southern Ontario areas. However, the traffic in Niagara Falls, I would personally say, isn't as bad. Of course, during the influx of the tourist times, when there's special events going, when roads are closed, that definitely can add some time for sure. However, like on a random Tuesday, it's actually going to move quite well. You're going to find a little bit of bottlenecks, of course, around the downtown area or the highway entrances around rush hour. However, like driving on the QE around Niagara Falls seems to always move well for me. Same with when you're out there just in the neighborhoods, it moves quite well compared to the other cities in the GTA. Then the next pro you need to be aware of before making the move to Niagara Falls is its healthcare. As here, you're going to find Niagara Health, which is a newer hospital built back in 2023 and is a key facility offering a range of medical services, and it is great as a regional hospital. However, for patients that need more specialized care, they're often going to get sent to either Hamilton or Toronto. And then you also find the South Niagara Hospital, which will be the newest hospital and is currently planning to be built and finished by 2028. Then the next pro about living in Niagara Falls that's awesome is the nightlife and entertainment you're going to be finding in this city here, as you have two different casinos in the Falls View Casino and the Casino Niagara to try your luck at blackjack, roulette, slots, or a variety of other games they have. But then you're also going to be finding a variety of bars and breweries in Niagara, as my personal favorite is the Niagara Brewing Company, which has award-winning local craft beers. And if you're interested in the best wineries and vineyards, keep on watching as we'll be discussing that in just a moment. But then you're also going to find a bunch of different clubs and nightlifes to enjoy in the downtown area and around Niagara Falls, including lots of different live shows and comedy and music, from the Yuck Yucks Comedy Club to a variety of theaters that are always filled up with different shows every single weekend. Then if you're a family relocating to Niagara Falls, the other thing you're absolutely going to love is the great community centers, which is the next pro, as here you're going to have the McBain Community Center and Park, which was opened back in 2005 and offers an indoor pool, a water slide, gymnasium, indoor track, racquetball courts, a public library, a great park with lots to do outside. But you'll also find the Gale Center arenas, which offer 4 different ice rinks for your kids to play hockey or go for escape. And usually my clients that are interested in the community centers are also interested in learning about the schools, so we'll be discussing that in just a moment. But first, let's discuss the next thing I mentioned we would talk about, and that is the safety you're going to be finding in Niagara Falls. And in my opinion, this is definitely another pro, as here you're going to find one of the safest places in Ontario, as according to the data by Statistics Canada in the 2023 crime index, the Niagara region crime severity was only 54.5, which is lower than the national average, and most areas are considered safe for families. What does that number actually mean of 54.5? Well, that number there was rated lower than the areas of the Greater Toronto Area, Hamilton, Calgary, Surrey, Ottawa, the Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge area. However, just a tad higher than the Peel region as well as the Halton region. Now, if you want to learn more about the different safety and the crime map that happens in Niagara Falls and just the Niagara region in general, I'll leave a link for you to view the Niagara region's police map that is right from the source. So I'd recommend you go take a look at that for the most up-to-date data with regards to the crime statistics. So you can find a link down below for that there. Now, in terms of these schools is the next pro about living in Niagara Falls, as here you're going to find 28 different elementary schools, both public and Catholic, and 22 of them are ranking above the provincial average according to the Fraser Institute rankings, with some of the top performers in the recent rankings being John Marshall's Public School, St. Vincent de Paul Catholic School, as well as the Prince Philip Public School. Then in terms of high schools, you're going to find 5 different high schools here, and again, the majority are ranking above the provincial average on their historical scores. Now, in terms of private schools, if you're thinking about going that route, you will find a couple of options here in and around the Niagara Falls. So send me and my team a message today if you want to learn more about those options. We can send you a couple to look at. And then as for post-secondary schools, you're going to find the University of Niagara Falls, which is a brand new university that was just established in 2024, focusing on innovative education and research for the digital world. And while not inside Niagara Falls, 2 other post-secondary options just a short drive outside of Niagara Falls are Brock University and Niagara College. Now, in terms of the next pro or con you need to consider before making the move to Niagara Falls is the employment opportunities, as like I mentioned, it really does depend on what you compare to. If you compare it to the GTA, Niagara Falls isn't going to have as much employment options. Hamilton, it's not going to have as much employment options. St. Catharines even, it's not going to have as much employment options. However, basically every other city around the Niagara region, Niagara Falls is going to have more employment options, right? And the three biggest employers in Niagara Falls are the tourism and hospitality, of course, as this is the cornerstone of the Niagara Falls economy with more than 12 million visitors annually. But then the second biggest employer is the manufacturing, as its strategic location near major transportation routes and facilities is great for distribution. So you find a lot of manufacturings here as well. And then another one is the hydro energy, which is another big drive of the local economy. And basically all the water that is running through the Niagara Falls, they harness it to make power, and you have a lot of different opportunities in the energy sector as well there. And this also means there's a lot of different hydro lines and hydro towers running throughout the city. So if you want to learn where those are in Niagara Falls so you know how to avoid them, keep on watching, as we'll be breaking those down on the map shortly. But then the next pro about living in Niagara Falls that I mentioned we would chat about is the amazing local vineyards and wineries, as here you really have more than 50 different wineries to choose, and Niagara is really known for its local wines. Some local ones you'll want to check out are Ravine Vineyards Estates Winery, as well as the Queenstone Mile Vineyard. Now, while I'm not a big wine guy, the next pro is definitely a big attraction for me, and that is the amazing golf courses you're going to be finding in and around Niagara Falls, as you have the Niagara Falls Golf Club, the Thundering Waters Golf Club, the Whirlpool Golf Course, the Eagle Valley Golf Course, or also the Legends on the Niagara Golf Course and driving range. Now, the next con you need to be aware of before making the move to Niagara Falls, and these are some of the things that stop my clients from moving to certain areas, is where all the industrial areas are, where the hydro lines are, where the train tracks are, and much more. So let's jump on the computer here and I'll break this down for you. Alrighty, so here we are. We got a view of Niagara Falls, and the first thing let's take a look at is the industrial area. So if we flip it on, of course, you're gonna have a couple of little industrial areas. For the most part, though, they're really not noticeable in Niagara Falls. You have a little bit over here, but the biggest one is down here, and it's really outside of the city, and again, not very noticeable. But one of the areas you will want to know about is where the Niagara Falls wastewater treatment plant is, which is right over here. So it does cause occasionally during those warm, hot, humid days, some smells in this area. Here is what some of my clients have told me, or my friends and family as well. So something to keep in mind, but that's the only wastewater treatment plant in all of Niagara Falls. Then if we flip on here, we have the landfills and recycling centers. So down here, we'll go to the first one actually, this is the massive landfill, or the Walker's Waste Recycling headquarters. So it's really actually technically speaking in St. Catharines, but as you see, Niagara Falls is right here. So I thought I would include it so you would know. Again, you're pretty far out from the city, so you don't really notice it in my opinion, but something to note nonetheless. And then they do have one little recycling center right here in the middle of the city, right where the 420 meets the QEW. Then the next thing that I mentioned, there are a lot of, and that is hydro lines. Now, it's kind of hard to see it based on this view here. Let me flip it on to maybe the other base map and give you a better idea. Here we go, and I'll flip these ones off so it's easier to see. So as you can see, you have the hydro plants. The big one is up here. You have a smaller one down here, but you have a variety of different hydro lines. They're basically going to all these surrounding cities and really powering them. So as you can see, basically, for the most part, every block or two, you have a hydro line coming in or going down. So multiple things to keep in mind in terms of if you don't want to live one of these near hydro towers, send me a message. I'd be happy to send you this map here to have a better understanding of these different areas. And then the final one are the train tracks. So a little bit less, but you do have the Niagara Go station right here. So you do have the Niagara Go train tracks right here. And then just a small industrial train track right here as well. So now you know the 22 pros and cons you need to know about before making the move to Niagara Falls. If you're thinking about making the move but are unsure if you want to move as far from Niagara Falls and maybe want to be a bit closer to Toronto and the rest of the GTA, the next video I'd recommend you go take a look at is my video breaking down the top pros and cons of living in Grimsby. So you can find the video right here. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day.